Hello, my name is Karen Hughes, and I am the Domestic Violence Clinical Services Coordinator for the Life Crisis Center. I want to welcome you to Life Crisis Today. Often we get asked, how can I help out with the Life Crisis Center? How can I volunteer? Well, we do have volunteers, and we call them advocates. So we're going to be talking about our advocate program today. And with me is Katie O'Brien, and she is our staff advocate. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you for having me.
To volunteer, I know we call them our advocates. What does it mean to be one of our advocates?
Advocates and volunteers are kind of
synonymous
with Life Crisis Center. Well, an advocate is a volunteer, but it's somebody who is compassionate, non-judgmental, and has a desire to help people in some very trying situations.
Right.
So they are vital to who Life Crisis is and what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do a couple of different things. They work with advocates basically when they've been assaulted through domestic violence or sexual assaults.
Yeah, so intimate partner violence, sexual assault, we have stalking, child abuse,
human trafficking.
So we're talking pretty heavy stuff. But
right.
They're vital.
What makes them so vital?
Like, it's not called Life Crisis for nothing. These
right.
people are calling because whatever has happened to them is pretty traumatic. And then they go to some places that are either the hospital where this trauma is fresh, or and they're alone, or maybe they're not alone, but they want someone there that's maybe non-biased or not family, or so. And then in court advocates, because court can be very intimidating, and these are people's lives. And so I can't tell you how many times, the clients are like so thankful that the advocates were there. And
yeah. If I was that person that wanted to volunteer and I want to become an advocate, what do I have to do?
Well, first and foremost, contact Life Crisis Legal Department.
Okay.
That's anyone there can guide you in the right direction. Leave a message. We will get back to you because we need you. And then, of course, there's you'll have an interview.
Make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Like you said, it's hard work.
Absolutely. And then after that, there's some training. We just don't throw you to the wolves.
Right.
So,
what is involved with that?
Well, it's 32 hours training. There is one day, like full day, 6 hours in person, with Life Crisis at Life Crisis, and then there's another 2 hours we'd like them to spend with a forensic nurse at the hospital, and then there's like online modules.
Okay.
Those you can kind of do at your leisure or when you can fit it in. So we're not, just as long as you get it done.
Right.
And then shadowing, because you can read something out of a book, but to really get to learn and get
to do the in-person,
is shadowing.
Okay. I have now done the training, and I've done the shadowing, and I'm ready to go. Are there expectations of me as the advocate to time commitment or what I need to be available for or to do?
Yeah, we ask at least 1 day a week commitment.
Okay.
Yeah, and for maybe 6 months to a year that you're invested and willing to do that.
Right.
Yep.
And if I work, because there are people who want to still volunteer or be an advocate, but they have their work schedule. What does that person do?
Well, if you've ever had a crisis, it doesn't really have
not
work with your timing.
Not 9 to 5, right?
Right. So it can happen at any time, as we know, and we need advocates.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could come middle of the night from the hospital, or what did I say? I say off hours, after hours, and weekends. Just whenever. Okay. So we can definitely still needed.
Right.
Yep.
Because they could have to go to the hospital in the middle of the night, or on the weekend, or go to the commissioner's office because the courts are closed or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I forgot to ask in the interview process, are there qualifications that I need? Do I need to be like a certain age? Do I need to have a certain education level? Are there requirements for me to even apply?
Oh, yes, there are a couple. We have a 21 age requirement.
Oh, okay.
It's just because it's heavy stuff, and there's a certain level of maturity that we think that's
Needed.
yeah. A high school diploma,
Okay.
but
So I don't have to have a degree of any sort? Okay.
no, because
Okay.
we'll cover basics and training and stuff. So you don't need you just need willingness to help. Like I
Right.
said. One other thing though, we do background checks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we will be working with vulnerable people and children and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, okay, even though as a volunteer, are there requirements I have to do? Like I'm thinking you're a staff member. We have to do timesheets and we have meetings we have to go to. Are there anything that an advocate is required to do?
Not necessarily. We do have monthly meetings.
Okay.
That we would like everyone to do.
Right.
And those are our time where we and advocates can ask questions, give new information, talk about trends they're seeing, multiple things that's important for, and just we're all on the same page and just to check in to see how we're doing.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the place where you can talk about your cases.
Oh yeah, it is, and it's because of confidentiality.
Yes. Yes.
It's actually very vital that a lot of people or a lot of the advocates come here and are able to express or ask questions about their cases. Mm-hmm. So that would be the place to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
How about ongoing training? Because I'm thinking, all right, I've had the initial training, but sometimes tweaking it, or I've forgotten something, or brush up my skills or something. Is that offered?
It is offered. It's not mandatory, but like I said, so after the modules, anytime that staff have trainings coming up or that are available to offer to the advocates, they are welcome to them. So that's the meetings are another place where we would inform them of trainings coming up, and if they wanted to get involved in that or participate, we can sign them up.
Mm-hmm. I know in the past, it's been a little while, I've gone and done a little in-service, like 15, 20 minutes for the advocates.
Yeah.
So I know that they get those at the meetings too sometimes.
Yeah, we do. Once in a while, we'll get someone to come in and talk about, their
specific
specialty.
topic.
Yeah.
So who are the clients that a client might work with, that one of the advocates might work with?
Well, we're working with our community, and we serve 3 counties. We serve Wacomico, Worcester, and Somerset. We're helping people, victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, child abuse, elder abuse, human trafficking, vulnerable and underserved population. So basically our neighbors in our community.
Right.
It could be anybody.
Right.
Honestly.
And we keep everything confidential with who we're working with.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
We stress that multiple times.
Yes.
Not just because it's sensitive information and very private and
some of the details can be hard. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's a small community on top of everything else, so it's very important that we keep everything confidential.
And our advocates are right there on the front line too.
Oh yeah.
So they're where it's really still very raw with the client. Yeah. So because it's so raw with the client, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And I know, working on the clinical staff, that it's hard work, and emotionally it can take us and be hard for us. What support is given to the advocate?
Well, like you mentioned, the confidentiality is so important. You can't just run home and talk about what happened with your family and friends.
Right.
So another advocate after court, we can sit and talk, or the hotline is a great resource, and on top of our clinical staff.
Yeah.
We're always there for us because it is very emotional, and you can't see people's pain and not be affected.
Right.
So you just really be self-aware, know when you just need to talk it out and debrief. We encourage that and we also encourage self-care. Yeah, we don't want you burn out, because if you're burnt out, you're no good to them,
Right.
and it's really, it's, yeah. So we
And people
stress
are a phone call away. I mean, they don't have to come into the office to debrief. They could just call you
Yep,
and debrief.
absolutely.
Or I know you're in the courts all the time too. So after a case, they can find you if you're in a different courtroom and say, let's talk.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm thinking, okay, the courts. Do I need to have legal knowledge? Because I know I get periodically told, Karen, you can't say that's legal. And the lawyer needs to give bad advice. That's advice. So what about that?
Well, no, you don't need to know. You don't need to know legal stuff. You will pick stuff up, general information, but you do not need to know much to be able to help in that field. We also have a wonderful attorney, staff attorney, that with any legal questions, she's available to help.
Right.
Yeah.
And she also, if needed, she's the one who represents the client.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If it's needed. So is there anything else we have forgotten?
I think we should mention how rewarding this is, because I can tell you from experience, when I'm with a client, whether nothing went her way in court or the most horrible thing just happened to her, they are always grateful that someone was there with them, and that it just fills you, and it makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
So,
That you can see the stress leave them for just a little brief
just
second.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? You've been on staff. You're the staff advocate. So what's that experience like for you?
Well, I love it. I've been doing this kind of work for probably 13 years now, and I started at Life Crisis as a volunteer advocate. Yeah, and it's always been a passion of mine, this population and what I do. So I got hired back in 2018 and been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that about your passion, and I know the clients' reactions because I hear about it all the time. We just went over how to become an advocate.
Okay.
Let's go over it just one more real brief.
Okay.
If I wanted to do it and I wanted to be an advocate, what are the steps again?
Well, you'd be over 18.
Okay.
You'd have a high school diploma.
Okay.
You'd have a willingness to help others and compassion without judgment. You would call the legal department at the Life Crisis Center.
Okay.
We would set up a brief interview, then set you up with the training necessary, the in-person and the modules. Shadow a couple times or until you're comfortable, because some may take longer, and that's fine. We want them to be comfortable.
Right.
And then you'll be on your way.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And then sign up for a shift somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
We do calendars. At the meetings, we'll get, the calendars, and that's where we'll get your information availability.
Okay. Well, Katie, thank you. I'm hoping that we do find some folks who want to help volunteer and become an advocate.
I hope so, too.
It is rewarding. I mean, I've been with the agency a long time as well, so I know the rewards of working with the population and helping them and seeing some growth and seeing them get out of situations that were really horrific.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
And if you do need to reach us, if you want to become an advocate, or you might be needing our services, we have lots of ways for you to reach us. We do have a hotline, and the hotline number is 410-749-HELP. Again, the hotline number is 410-749-4357. We also are part of the 211 system, which is information and referral. And we are part of the National Suicide Hotline, which is 988. If you're one of those folks that don't want to talk on the phone, but you like to text to chat, we do have that. And that number is 898-211. Now, you do have to put in your zip code if you want to do that. There are other ways to reach us. We do have a website, and that is www.lifecrisiscenter.org. We're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram. There's lots of ways to reach us. Please don't struggle. Don't feel like you're doing this alone. Or if you want to become one of those advocates, call us. I also want to thank PAC 14 for helping us to have this program available to you. Thank you.